happy people. Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a life crafted layout in my regular album. Today I'm scrapbooking these photos of my sophomore, well now my junior, on his last day of school. He went up to a lake house with his friends and they just did the teenage thing. And I'm going to be scrapbooking a somewhat personal story to go with it, about my own childhood and the contrast between his childhood and my childhood and the changes that we made to, you know, break cycles and stuff like that. But these photos are so gorgeous. And today I'm going to be using the summer camp collection as part of our team YouTube hop because duh, it's outdoorsy. The colors match really well. And so what I did is I actually printed my journaling on one of the Traveler's Notebook signatures that I already had printed out. So in just a second, when I stop this intro, I'm going to show you how I did that in Photoshop. You can also do it in Word, but it's a little bit more convoluted. Not really, but it's the same concept. I just use Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to do that. So without any further ado, let's get started. So I have a blank 8.5 by 11 canvas here that I'm just going to drag and drop the Traveler's Notebook signature that I want to use directly onto. That's going to center it perfectly in the page. And if I hit enter to accept the placement, I can now turn on my grid. I do it by command apostrophe, command comma, leaves apostrophe, command apostrophe. That turns on the grid, and the reason that I want to do that is because I want to take my text box and I want to draw it 1/4 of an inch from each edge of the Traveler's Notebook signature. This allows for me to add holes. This allows just for margin. It looks better. So I'm going to drag it all the way down here to the bottom so that it autofills all this text. Obviously, I'm going to add in my own journaling for my page, but I'm just going to use this filler text for the sake of this video. So when you get to the bottom of your page and you have text running over the color here, I obviously don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at this line where it starts crossing over the orange, and I'm going to hit enter so that it's now its own line, and I can hit the space bar until it moves all the way over to the edge. I can do the same thing here, oops, and then hit, oops, there we go, go back to where you're supposed to be. And then I can hit the space bar and fill in this last text over here too. Obviously you want your text to be short enough to fit into those spaces. The filler text was longer, but make sure that you're not cutting off your own journaling. From there, I want to print a test print with a box around the outside edges rather than printing this Traveler's Notebook signature. That is, of course, because I already have the Traveler's Notebook signature printed, and I want to print onto the already printed Traveler's Notebook signature. If you have not printed your signature or your journal card or whatever it is that you're printing your text on, if you haven't printed that yet, then you can just go ahead and print from here and you will be good to go. But since I have already printed the Traveler's Notebook signature, I'm going to go ahead and add a stroke to the outside edge that creates a black line around the outside edge, and then I'm going to come over here to fill and drop it down to 0, and that's going to create a black line around the outside edge of the Traveler's Notebook signature, but not have the actual Traveler's Notebook signature print. So now I can print it from here, and then what I would do is tape my Traveler's Notebook signature over this print, making sure that everything is centered when it's time, and then run it back through the printer, this time turning off this layer altogether so it doesn't print that black line again. Super simple. It's very fast. You can do something similar in Word. Unfortunately, I don't use Word. I don't even have Word, so I can't show you how to do that, but it's fairly simple in both programs. All right, so you can see the printed finished product here with the original print And now I'm ready to start scrapbooking. So I'm going to add in my holes like I always do. This one is going to be a large photo plus that traveler's notebook signature. And in the middle, I want to use the Citrus Twist 4x4, it's two 4x4 inserts in the center for these extra photos and also some decorative journaling cards. So I'm just going to set it up to begin with. I normally don't use full photos for pockets. I like to layer them and add, background color, but I really like the way that this looked very clean in the spread. So now I know that I want to use a journaling card that says roam if you want to. I thought about maybe using this one too, but this one I really wanted to use because it matches the journaling where, I'm talking about letting my kids have freedom, letting them learn who they are, what they want to be, spend time with their friends, which is something I didn't get a lot of as a child myself. So it's very important to me that they grow up independently from me and learn to stand on their own 2 feet without me hovering. And so my kid had gone to a lake house with his friends after the last day of school his sophomore year. So that's what these photos are from. So I added a trimmed down traveler's notebook signature on the other side. That's what I was doing while I was talking. I trimmed it down to 4x4. It fit perfectly, but this is a 3x4, so obviously I need to add to it. I want it to follow in that square orientation, so I pulled out a few papers that I thought maybe would work, but I didn't want that stripe. I really loved the way that the green trees interacted with the layout as a whole, but I didn't love the way that it looked with that orange specifically right on top of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the yellow as a buffer between the green and the orange and make, just an extra layer. So I trimmed down the orange card to 3x3, the yellow card is 3.5 by 3.5, and then the large card is 4x4. Actually, it might be 3.25 by 3.25, but the largest one is 4x4. Oh, that's so pretty. Sometimes I just really love the simplicity of layouts like this, especially when you have such stunning photos that you really want to shine. So I'm going to add a secondary title down here that says adventure, and with some of these cute little hand-drawn clouds, just to add a little bit to that stripe. I like the way that the stripe, so my initial idea for the striped traveler's notebook signature was waves. I was going to do them in just blue, but I really loved the way that the colors interplayed, but they still read as waves to me. So I like the combination of that traveler's notebook signature with these lake photos. So I wanted to keep that there, but I also wanted to add to it just so that it had a little bit more interest. So I also want to add just a touch of something to this photo because I can't resist. I'm going to add this word bit plus the arrows just right up to the top corner. I'm going to fiddle with it a little bit after I have this whole page done just because I felt like it kind of went down a little weird and off-center, but I fixed it at the end. So I'm just kind of sticking these together, seeing how they work over the top before I pull it out of the page protector. Obviously don't want it to cover him up, but I do want this little tiny space in between the edge of the photo and him to have something on it. Okay, so it went down a little funny, but I'm gonna let it go for a minute, and I will come back to it. So I'm gonna turn the page over, and the majority of the decorating that I'm going to do is going to be on this large photo. I don't want to cover up too much of it, but I do feel like there's a lot of empty space that I can add stuff to, and being the person who likes to embellish as much as I do, that's what I'm going to do. I also want to add just one little thing here, and it's going to say, it's a little word bit that says we were here, but again it goes down a little bit crooked, so I'm gonna have to fuss with it again later. I'm just trying to decide what I want here, but they're all just a little too large for what I'm wanting. Like, I don't want to cover up too much of this page, So obviously we're gonna have to go with some smaller word bits. I enjoyed the way that those Aztec symbols looked on this photo as anchors for words or whatever it is that I want to add here. So I'm going to go ahead and put those down, making sure to avoid the holes. I like this little banner that says discover. I like just the theme of the page, right? Adventure, discover, roam, freedom, that sort of thing, because that's what these pages really read to me. So here's that we were here. I'm going to put it down. I think I just put it a little too high. It's covering up those pages or those trees a little awkwardly. Thought about adding these in to the design, but I don't think that I really love them. I'm not sure yet. I like the idea of them, but I think that they're just infringing upon the photo a little bit too much. I love this wild child. He is my wild child, my wildest child, I should say. So it definitely had to go down. And I love the way that that's framing the photo. So this is good for me. I want to add in just something to extend it a little bit so it's not like too blocky, but I decided that all of the embellishments were too much. So I pulled out some Citrus Twist puffy stickers to use the heart stickers. Then I decided I wanted to add to the Discover title, so I added U with more Citrus Twist alphas. And then I couldn't decide what I wanted down here. I felt like there was an awkward gap between the Discover and the U, so I just put that heart there instead, because again, I didn't want to add more icons to the page. But that looks really cute. I love the way that that turned out, but I need to fix this we were here, because it's just a little too high. So I pull it off, re-stick it a little lower, which left a little bit of sticky on the page. So the way that I decided to fix that was I just ripped off a little bit of patterned paper from one of the cards that I had cut down, which drew in some of that yellow from the other side, so that worked out really well. And actually, I like the way that that looks. It doesn't look like I did it on accident. It just kind of looks like a cool little embellishment, almost like a washi tape. So I fixed this, trim everything down, and I'm good to go. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. There are links to the YouTube hop in the description box below if you want to check that out. And I will see you next time. Thank you.